This video is solely the history section for the Heisei Godzilla kaiju profile. The roles he plays in the movie season are so long and entrenched with their plots that this section needed to be its own video. So, for the King of the Monsters' abilities, origins, and trivia, check out the actual kaiju profile. The Return of Godzilla. A second Godzilla appeared 30 years after the original's death following a volcanic eruption at Daikoku Island, first attacking a fish canning vessel. The lone survivor, Hiroshi Okumura, was rescued and later identified the monster as Godzilla, a fact the Japanese government kept a secret to prevent panic. Meanwhile, Godzilla encountered a Soviet nuclear submarine in the waters off Japan and attacked it, causing the Soviets to believe the Americans were responsible. To prevent nuclear war, Japan revealed that Godzilla had returned. Both the Americans and Soviets demanded that they be allowed to use their nukes against Godzilla, but Japan refused. Still, the Soviets secretly placed the controls for a nuclear attack satellite in the cargo ship Balashevo in Tokyo Bay just in case. One night, Godzilla attacked the Mihama nuclear power plant, and while feeding on the radiation of the reactor, suddenly left, following a flock of birds out to sea, suggesting that Godzilla shared birds' use of magnetic patterns in the atmosphere to navigate, leading to scientist Makoto Hayashida beginning work on a magnetic wave transmitter. However, before the plan to imprison Godzilla in Mount Mihara on Izu Oshima could be completed, the monster appeared in Tokyo Bay. Following the cannons to Shinjuku, Godzilla encountered the Super X, which used flares to distract him and then fired cadmium missiles into his throat. He collapsed once the cadmium slowed down the nuclear reactions in his body, stopping his heart. While the JSDF believed the Monster King was dead, Dr. Hayashida did not. Okamura arrived in a helicopter and airlifted Hayashida and his device to Oshima Island. Meanwhile, the Soviets' nuclear satellite was accidentally triggered when Godzilla destroyed the Balashevo, and a nuclear missile was headed straight for the heart of Tokyo. The Soviets warned the Japanese about the missile, giving the Americans enough time to shoot it down in the skies far above Tokyo. However, the radiation showered down onto Godzilla, reviving him. Godzilla re-engaged and destroyed the Super X, and he continued his rampage until Hayashida activated his device, causing Godzilla to head toward the transmitter. Coming ashore on the island, he climbed to the summit of Mount Mihara, where explosive charges on the volcano were detonated, triggering a controlled eruption and sending Godzilla plummeting into the crater below. Godzilla vs. Biollante. Over 5 years after being imprisoned inside Mount Mihara, Godzilla began to stir within the volcano's crater. The JSTF's anti-Godzilla unit was placed on high alert, while the government, with the help of geneticist Genjiro Shiragami, began work on the anti-nuclear energy bacteria, or ANEB, bacteria engineered from G-cells designed to kill Godzilla by consuming the radiation inside him. Shiragami had accepted for the sole purpose of acquiring G-cells, which he spliced into a rose containing his dead daughter's cells to make it immortal. When a terrorist group learned of the ANEB, however, they placed explosives on Mount Mihara and demanded the ANEB be handed over or else Godzilla would be released. The government complied, but the exchange was sabotaged by a Saradian agent who stole the ANEB. The charge exploded, and Godzilla was released once again. As Godzilla swam toward mainland Japan, the JSDF sent the Super X-2 to engage the Big G, but was quickly forced to retreat due to damage from his atomic breath. Godzilla made his way to Lake Ashi, where Biollante had taken root, and stared at the creature, which attacked him out of panic. Godzilla retaliated and set Biollante aflame, who proceeded to break apart into energy spores and float away, allowing Godzilla to return to the ocean. Later, low on nuclear energy, he searched for a power plant to feed off. Meanwhile, the ANEB was successfully recovered from the Suradia oil office in Osaka, and rockets loaded with ANEB were quickly assembled. The Super X-2 engaged Godzilla but was destroyed, and the Monster King made his way to the city center, where he was injected with ANEB rockets. The next day, Godzilla showed no signs of being affected. The JSDF responded by raising his body temperature with laser beams when he arrived at Wakasa Bay, weakening him. Right then, Biollante's spores rained onto the ground, and soon the plant beast Biollante emerged, destroying all of the JSDF's units and attacking Godzilla. Both monsters were severely wounded, but Biollante's corrosive sap spray raised Godzilla's body temperature even further. As Biollante's spores ascended into the sky, Godzilla collapsed on his way back to the sea. As the tides washed over him, his temperature lowered, and he regained enough strength to go back out to the sea. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. The JSDF closely monitored Godzilla over the course of 2 years following his encounter with Biollante, but it appeared he was too weak to ever leave the water. One day, a group of time travelers from the 23rd century arrived in the spaceship Mother, claiming that Godzilla would return soon and destroy Japan, and that this could be prevented by erasing Godzilla himself from history. Citing a book written in the future by Kenichiro Terasawa, they offered to travel back to 1944 to teleport away a dinosaur believed to have mutated into Godzilla. The plan was quickly enacted, with Fuchirian Emikano, the cyborg M11, and a few individuals from the present day being sent back in time. Once they arrived, they witnessed the battle between Japanese and American forces. The Godzillasaurus appeared and then fought off the Americans, but was gravely wounded by shells and artillery. After the Japanese soldiers left, the spaceship Kids was used to teleport the Godzillasaurus to the Bering Sea, where they believed it would die, far away from nuclear testing. In the dinosaur's place, Emmy secretly left behind 3 genetically engineered creatures called Dorats. When Kids returned to the present, the Fuchirian's leader reported Godzilla had vanished from the Sea of Japan. However, in place of Godzilla, the 3-headed dragon King Ghidorah appeared to terrorize Japan. The Fuchirians had used the Castle Bravo test to create Ghidorah and erase Godzilla from history so that he couldn't stop their monster. Meanwhile, Miki Saegusa remarked that she could sense Godzilla moving, something that, along with everyone still remembering Godzilla, suggested that Godzilla hadn't really been erased from history. Thinking that Godzilla was their only defense against King Ghidorah, the Japanese authorities sent a nuclear submarine to the Bering Sea to transform the Godzillasaurus they believed was there into a new Godzilla. Instead, en route to the Bering Sea, the sub found Godzilla, curing his anib infection and causing him to grow to 100 meters in height. Godzilla came ashore in Hokkaido, prompting the Fuchirians to send King Ghidorah against him. The monsters dueled, and eventually Ghidorah gained the upper hand. Terasawa, Emmy, and a reprogrammed M11 mounted an assault on Mother, destroying the computer controlling King Ghidorah and allowing Godzilla to take the upper hand and sever King Ghidorah's metal head with his spiral heat ray. Emmy then used Kids to teleport Mother in front of Godzilla, who proceeded to destroy it and the Fuchirians inside it, and then shot down an escaping Ghidorah. The revitalized Godzilla rampaged across Japan. To stop him, Emmy traveled to 2204, recovered King Ghidorah's corpse, and used the technology of her time to transform him into a cyborg, Mecca King Ghidorah. No match for his modified opponents, Godzilla was captured with the Mecha's machine hand. However, while transporting the Monster King, Mecca King Ghidorah had his wings blasted out and fell into the sea as a result. Emmy escaped from the mech just in time and returned to the future. Meanwhile, on the ocean floor, Godzilla regained consciousness. Godzilla vs. Mothra. After a meteor crashed in the Pacific Ocean, it awakened both Godzilla and the dark divine moth, Batra. Godzilla surfaced when Mothra's egg was mid-transportation from Infant Island to Japan. The egg hatched into a larval Mothra which fought Godzilla until Batra arrived and dragged Godzilla to the seafloor. Mid-battle, a volcanic fault opened beneath them and both were pulled into the magma below. Presumed dead, the monster actually simply swam through the molten rock, with Godzilla emerging from Mount Fuji and making his way toward Yokohama. There he found Mothra, now in Imago stage, fighting against an Imago stage Batra. Batra knocked Mothra aside and attacked Godzilla, who easily overpowered him. Mothra and Batra proceeded to join forces against Godzilla. Mothra and Batra's onslaught proved too much for Godzilla, and he was subdued. While being carried out to sea by the moth monsters, Godzilla killed Batra, and they both fell into the ocean. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Godzilla appeared at Adonoa Island, where a group of scientists discovered a prehistoric egg guarded by the mutant pteranodon, Rodan. Godzilla attacked Rodan, giving the scientists enough time to escape with the egg. Godzilla blasted Rodan with his atomic breath, seemingly killing him, and he followed the stolen egg back to Kyoto. The egg hatched into a baby Godzillasaurus, named Baby Godzilla by Azusa Gojo, whom it had imprinted upon. As Godzilla approached the institute housing the hatchling, the United Nations formed military task force known as G-Force sent their weapon, Mechagodzilla, to intercept him. After Mechagodzilla knocked Godzilla to the ground with its impressive arsenal, it fired its shock anchor cables into Godzilla to electrocute him. Godzilla managed to reverse the electrical current, causing Mechagodzilla to short-circuit and fall. Godzilla continued to Kyoto, but eventually left after he was unable to find the hatchling. Baby Godzilla was kept at G-Force's headquarters, where he was raised and studied. It was soon discovered that Baby possessed a second brain in his hips, which controlled his lower body. From this information, a plan was devised to use Baby to lure the Big G, destroy his second brain, and then kill him with Mechagodzilla. Unable to stop the Baby's use as bait, Asusa opted to accompany him on the trip to the Ogasawara Islands where the operation would be taking place. En route, the revived Rodan, now Fire Rodan, intercepted the canister holding Asusa and Baby. Mechagodzilla and Garuda were sent in to save Baby and Asusa, and apparently killed Rodan. Shortly after, Godzilla appeared and engaged Mecha Godzilla, which combined with Garuda to form Super Mecha Godzilla not long after the battle commenced. Super MC fired his shock anchor cables directly at his hips, and discharged electricity until the Monster King's second brain was burst. Before the mech could kill Godzilla, however, Baby escaped from his canister and called out to the mortally wounded Fire Rodan, who flew over but was shot down by Mecha Godzilla's Mega Buster. Rodan fell onto Godzilla and vanished after giving up his life force, reconstituting Godzilla's second brain. Revitalized, the Monster King rose and fired his new uranium atomic heat ray at Mecha Godzilla several times, destroying it. Godzilla approached Baby, who cowered in fear. Heisei Godzilla used her telepathy to tell Baby to go with Godzilla, and both he and his new adoptive father headed out to the ocean. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Godzilla had taken partial residence on Birth Island, where his adoptive son, now 30 meters tall and dubbed Little Godzilla, spent all of his time. When extraterrestrial clone Space Godzilla arrived and began attacking Little Godzilla, the king of the monsters came ashore and confronted the invader to defend his son. However, Space Godzilla proved too powerful and encased Little G in crystals before leaving. Enraged, Godzilla chased Space Godzilla back to Japan, eventually reaching Kumamoto. There he had a brief encounter with Mogira, after a rogue pilot diverted the mech's path from Space Godzilla to Godzilla. After the pilot was subdued by the co-pilots, Mogira headed to Fukuoka to fight Space Godzilla. Godzilla eventually arrived and fought his clone, but was overpowered. Soon, the Monster King realized that Space Godzilla was drawing most of his energy from the surrounding crystal spires and the Fukuoka Tower, which the Space Beast had instilled with cosmic energy. Godzilla and Mogira, now split into Star Falcon and Land Mogira, joined forces to destroy the crystals and bring down the tower. When the tower was destroyed, Space Godzilla's power was drastically cut, allowing the Big G to put on a better fight. Mogira recombined and blew up Space Godzilla's shoulder crystals, making him unable to control his energy. The space monster retaliated by destroying Mogira. Godzilla proceeded to destroy Space Godzilla with his nuclear fusion heat ray, freeing Little Godzilla back on Birth Island. Godzilla swam out to sea, intent on returning to his son. Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. In 1996, a nuclear reactor in Godzilla's heart ignited uranium deposits on Birth Island, causing the island to explode. Nowhere to be seen, Little Godzilla is presumed dead. Godzilla, now covered in glowing orange rashes and dubbed Burning Godzilla, resurfaced in Hong Kong and destroyed the city before disappearing. G-Force would soon realize that Godzilla's new look was a result of the Birth Island explosion, and that the nuclear fission in the Monster King's heart would cause him to explode, igniting the atmosphere and vaporizing the Earth. Without the Oxygen Destroyer, the only weapon that can kill Godzilla, and knowing that a direct attack on the Big G would cause him to explode, G-Force turned to the Super X3, armed with cadmium shells and freezer weapons. As Godzilla reached the Bungo Channel, the X3 successfully lowered his temperature, encasing him in ice. As Godzilla thawed, the fission in his heart appeared to be reducing. After, Little Godzilla, now a sub-adult and dubbed Godzilla Jr., was found heading to his nest over on Adonoa Island. G-Force then learned that while Godzilla's fission had been brought under control, his reactor heart was overheating. This would lead to a nuclear meltdown, wherein Godzilla's heart would burn down to the Earth's core and destroy the planet in less than a week. After it was learned that Godzilla was following his son, a plan was devised to lure Junior to Tokyo, where the Oxygen Destroyer kaiju Destoroyah was, and have the crustacean kill Godzilla. Heisei Godzilla reluctantly used telepathy to change Junior's course to Tokyo. When Godzilla appeared in Tokyo Bay, a new plan was proposed to use freezer weapons to freeze Godzilla as he melted down to minimize damage, which would occur once Godzilla's core temperature reached 1200 degrees Celsius. As Godzilla and Junior reunited near Haneda Airport, Destoroyah appeared in his perfect form and killed Junior. Saddened, Godzilla became determined to avenge his son and confronted Destoroyah. The monsters traded blows, eventually ending with Godzilla firing into Destoroyah's exposed, wounded chest. This forced Destoroyah to split apart into multiple aggregates which swarmed the Monster King, but were defeated by a nuclear pulse. As his temperature climbed, Godzilla approached his fallen son and revived him only long enough for him to stare up at his father. As Godzilla grieved, Destoroyah reformed in his perfect form and grabbed Godzilla by the neck, dragging him out to the outskirts of the city. He got back on his feet and approached Destoroyah, ready for one final confrontation. Godzilla's temperature began to climb to critical levels, and his dorsal plates began melting. Giving off waves of immense heat which set the surrounding areas ablaze, Godzilla fired his infinite heat ray at Destoroyah, mortally wounding the crustacean. Before Destoroyah could fly away, G-Force opened fire with their freezer weapons, shredding the monster's wings, causing him to hit the ground and vaporize. With Destoroyah dead, Godzilla stood silently, ready to die in peace. G-Force opened fire on Godzilla with all their freezer weapons as he melted down. Finally, Godzilla's heart burst, and his outer body and skeleton melted away. G-Force prevented the destruction of the planet, but could do nothing to contain the catastrophic amounts of radiation pouring out from Godzilla. Just when it appeared Tokyo would be rendered uninhabitable, all the radiation vanished. Godzilla Jr. was visible through the smoke, revived and transformed into a new Godzilla. And that's Godzilla's history across the Heisei series. Please watch the actual kaiju profile now if you haven't already. See ya!